Alright, so ever since yesterday, I started that Tokyo Ghoul Mythic tier list and what I thought was the best one. But now I was thinking, why not do a whole game tier list that includes every single Mythic, including Lelouch from the other updates, and put it all into one. And by the way, this is just my opinion. If you want to leave your opinion in the comments below, feel free. But yeah, let's get started. Alright, so we're here and I have the tier list with all the mythicals, including Lelouch, just because he is one of the top tier units in the game, even though he's not a mythical. But let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna start with the best all the way to the worst one. And we already know, bro, Lelouch is up there. Yeah, he has amazing damage. Well, the Gigatron sometimes misses and it's kind of annoying, but the low SP on it is pretty cool. His range is basically infinite just because he summons them. His circle AoE is decently sized, large hitbox as well. And the ability to just summon units that attack for you is pretty crazy, and it helps you out throughout the game, especially in infinite mode. I'm gonna show you guys a tier list at the end of what I think is like the best in each like category, so watch out for that. But also he has the ability to mind control bosses, which if you already don't know, mind controlling bosses makes them attack other units for you, which is absolutely nuts. Like what other unit does that? That's what I love about this game. They think outside the box and give other units unique traits. And then also up here, you could place this in S tier or whatever, but I just placed it in S plus just because of how hard it is to get and how honestly decently good he is in infinite mode. But I put Eren Founding Titan up here because of the fact that his damage is pretty insane. 4 million on the actual, you know, Founding Titan plus 400,000 and on each Wall Titan. If you already don't know, he does summon Wall Titans on, you know, releasing him, so that's pretty crazy. Infinite range, massive hitbox. But the only thing that I will say about this is that he has an insanely high SPA, but you could probably change that with traits, because I did hear that units that like summon and support units now get affected by traits. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, then Godspeed or Divine could be really good on Eren. But now let's move on to the S ranks. So for the first S rank, you already know who's going up here. We got Shanks. Your boy Shanks is just too broken, right? He has decently high damage, up to like 8,000, somewhere up there. He has a really low SPA for a mythical that does that much damage, and has full AoE as well. Not only that, but on evolution, you know, he's got that large stun, basically a better Dio, but it has to be manual, and he's amazing support units, so you can't go wrong with Shanks. He's definitely a must-have. Next up, I got up here, I'm gonna say Arima. You can either switch this with Broly and Arima, but honestly I'll put Arima up here because his damage is like higher than Shanks, of course. Has basically the same SPA as Shanks, a very large range. Like his range is, I believe, is in the 40s, and he's a cone AoE, so it's better than Circle in my opinion. And you can basically hit in a line and does absolutely crazy damage. And his overall usability in infinite mode, raids, and story mode is pretty decent as well. Up next, I have Ito or Eto, whatever you pronounce it. Her damage is absolutely nuts. And I forgot this ability where she actually gains around 4 damage per kill. Although you might think that's pretty broken, it's kind of not really, you know, noticeable throughout the early game. Maybe in late game, if you get 100 kills, you get like 400 plus damage, which is actually really good. But she has a very high damage. And her damage count's pretty insane. But she is pretty expensive. That's why I only recommend her for infinite. But if you have her, her range is absolutely nuts as well. Cone with 50 range is crazy. Next up, I'm gonna go ahead and put Broly. We already know why Broly's here. You're gonna put him in the front as well, but I'm gonna just put him back here because the other units, in my opinion, are kind of more viable. But Broly's still pretty insane with that full AoE though. So I don't know. You can place him wherever you want, but I'm gonna just place him right here. It's kind of swappable between Arima and Broly, so you can do that. But Broly, you already know, insane damage, massive AoE, full AoE at that. A kind of high SPA, but you can't really complain because of his full AoE, and that's it. Crazy damage right there. Next up, we got Kainu. We already know this. Kainu, insane damage, very high DPS. Fairly high SPA, 14 seconds. Not the best, but his massive like circle with his range actually makes up for it, so I'll take that. And it burns enemies too, so why not? And finally for S, we got Juuzou. Juuzou, I've already explained this in the other videos. Decently high SPA, kind of somewhere with our Shanks, and low SPA like Shanks, kind of like the same stats as Shanks, but he does bleeding. So the bleeding, I already know it, 75% less healing on healing units, so that's really good. And he has cone AoE, so it's just a large hitbox, really nice. Now let's go down to A tier. For A tier, I'm deciding on Almight or Tatara, because Almight, you already know he has knockback, pretty high damage as well, decently high SPA, big circle AoE though. His This circle AoE is absolutely nuts. I think it's almost, or if not bigger than Akinu's. And like I said, Evo version has knockback, so it's kind of nice. And then up next, we got Tatara. He's kind of like a off-brand Kainu. He's got the burn, he's got the damage, although his range is absolutely not there. It's just not there. It's like around 20, and his hitbox pretty small, so I don't really like it, but the burn and damage is still pretty nice. And then for the third one, I got Whitebeard. He has a giant, you know, hitbox, full AoE, of course, kind of like Broly, but his SPA is not as high, his range is not as big, but the thing that I will say is that his evolution version actually has a manual knockback with the tsunami, so that's pretty good. But I would rather have Almight over him just because of the fact that he has lower SPA. The knockback is automatic with the evolution version, and you know, just a bigger overall usefulness, better usefulness than Whitebeard. And then over here we got Madara. You know, Madara has kind of been falling off throughout the actual updates. He has pretty good damage, high SPA for his caliber, decent range, but the only thing that I will say about this guy is his cone is very fat. He has a fat cone and large hitbox, so that's really nice. And then I'll pull Levi up here because he has a low SPA, very high damage, decent range, but the hitbox really small. That's what I really hate, that his hitbox is really small, but his bleeding, really nice add on to the fact that he has a low SPA as well. So it's kind of like a off-brand Juuzou, but he is a better boss killer, which I'll talk about later in the video. For 6th place, I have Katakuri. His damage is just not there for his caliber. Like, he's literally a mythic that has massive range and could be doing more damage, but we already all know that he is a more support unit, which on his evolution he does slow down units and has a chance to stun them as well, so that's really good. He also has a very large hitbox with decent range, so I'll put him back here. You could honestly swap between these two, but it's kind of hard to generalize them because they have different uses and their stats could be fairly the same, but I'm gonna just place him right here. And then finally, as much as I hate to place him here, actually no, I'm gonna start with B. I'm gonna go ahead and put Naruto for B because the amount of time you need to place into him and the things that you get out of him is honestly not worth it. His generality is not that great. He does like 4,000, 5,000 on max level, and this is a mythical, by the way, with a pretty low SPA, but the range is not it. I mean, the damage just makes it even worse, but like having that rectangle AoE while not even being fat, like I just expected a little more from Naruto. This man is a little underwhelming. And then I'll put Gohan above him because I like Gohan better. He has a little bit more damage, bigger AoE of course, and honestly I'm just disappointed in Naruto. I might as well put him in D tier, but I'll just put him right here. Now on for C tier, I'm gonna go ahead and put Rengoku here. Of course, he's a decently good unit, not the best now that he's fallen off. Basically, he does have burn and it has a fat AoE as well, but his rectangle doesn't really compare to all the cones and circles, so I don't really recommend getting him, but if you want to for the collection, go ahead. And then I'm gonna put Diavolo behind him since this man is just not it. He's been getting trashed on, literally trashed on for the past months that this game's been out, just because even though his evolution has that or not evolution, he has that global slow, it's just not it. He has a pretty low SPA, but his single target attack just makes it even worse. Single target, I get he's a stand user, but even Dio has an AoE kick barrage, like that's crazy. And then finally Armin, you already know Armin, not great damage, very high SPA. Even though he's full AoE, it's the manual ability to actually summon and do damage, which is not great. So this is my tier list right here. If you have anything that you want to add on to it or maybe argue, definitely leave it in the comments below. But now I'm gonna move on to the actual usability and their categories. On the tier list, I'm gonna go right here, and there we go. So this is my tier list. We already know I was trolling. Armin's an absolute beast. He's a god, absolutely crazy. Support units, you want to get Shanks, Almight, Katakuri, or Whitebeard, either one. I rank them with best to least best, so Shanks is definitely the best with that stun, Almight with that knockback, and Katakuri with the slow and stun as well. For damage, you already know Broly, Arima, Ito, Kainu, Juuzou, Tatara, Madara, etc. And boss killers, I recommend these three because, you know, of course, Eren has that millions of damage. Lelouch can mind control him, and then Levi, low SPA, and he has that crit chance as well. So even though his small hitbox pretty small, if it focuses on a boss, it'll melt it pretty quickly. And then solid units, we got Gohan and Rengoku. And then finally, what the fuck? Who wants to get these units? Absolutely dog shit. Get out my face. That's my tier list. And yeah, good luck getting the units that you want.